Hey guys, welcome back to another Winning, Getting, Earning a Platinum. Uh, this week it's The Walking Dead Season 1. Now, last week I went through all the trophies and kind of talked about each trophy and gave a little backstory on each one if it meant something. This week I probably won't do that because this game is I think this is like one of the, I shouldn't say the first, but it's one of the first games I ever played where it's just play the game from start to finish. Now the only catch is that the episodes, it was episodic, so not all the episodes were you couldn't just play the, if you start from when the game launched you couldn't play, because I think they put out two episodes, and then I think the third one came shortly after, and then I'd say within probably 6 months of the initial release date, I think in the final episode, there's only 5. Yeah, I got this. This was back in like 2013, and I was kind of, I think, I didn't do my research on the TV show, The Walking Dead. It's based off the comics, but like I think that was starting to take off. I think people were like, "Oh my god, have you seen this show, The Walking Dead?" And I was kind of like, well, like whatever. And then the game came out, and people were like, "Oh, this is pretty good." It's episodic, but yeah, it's really good. And I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." Didn't think much of it. And I know the first. I think if you have PlayStation Plus, the the first 2 episodes were free. I think actually all of it. If you have PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Plus, I believe all the games were free. So I think they had 2 episodes out, and I think the third one just came out or was coming out within that week. So I downloaded the first 2 and I played it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty good. So The Walking Dead is made by Telltale Games, and they're more of a narrative-based gameplay, which meaning there's really not much combat. There's no crafting. There's no survival. It's just, hey, we're gonna give you quick time events as long as you can, and they're pretty generous with the quick time events. As long as you hit the button, you should be fine. There's a little bit of you have to walk around in certain areas and find an object. It's kind of collect like 3 things, and then then it turns into kind of like a puzzle based game. So yeah, playing the first 2, you start off as Lee. I think it's Lee Everett, but I'm not 100%. I should say, I don't know if I said it up front, but there's going to be spoilers because I'm going to kind of talk about the whole 5 episodes. But you play as Lee. You're in a cop car. You start off in a cop car. The cop's kind of talking to you about like, oh, did you do the crime? And you're kind of like, the person playing is kind of like, well, I don't know what crime, so no, I didn't do it. The cop car ends up getting hit by. So you're in Georgia. I believe that's where the show takes place, and I think you're leaving Atlanta, and as you're driving, I think there's like a bunch of army, army trucks and stuff driving to Atlanta, and as a player, you're kind of like, okay, I think most people know exactly what's going to happen. But then your cop car is it ends up getting hit by a zombie. I think the zombie turned in the car or something like that. Like the person driving then turned into a zombie and then hit the cop car. You end up going unconscious and you wake up to the cop being eaten by a zombie, and so then you gotta kind of break the window and then you gotta run. So you end up running through the forest. And you end up getting to this house, and you see this little girl in this tree house. I believe she's in the tree house, because then you break into the house because you're kind of looking for protection, ammo, whatever. Because you still don't really know what's going on. Well, the player knows kind of what's going on, but Lee doesn't really know what's going on. So you're in this house, and all of a sudden this walkie-talkie goes off, and you pick it up, and this little girl's voice starts talking, and she's like, kind of, who are you? And as Lee, you're kind of like, okay, whatever. But you start talking. She's like, my parents aren't home. They went. I think they end up going to Atlanta, which that basically becomes the plot of the story, is that you're kind of taking this girl to Atlanta to find her parents. So, she ends up saying, you end up meeting her. She goes, her name's Clementine, and so Clementine and Lee decide to, I think a bunch of zombies start popping up, and I'm not gonna give a full walkthrough because I don't really remember much. I mean, I remember like some basic points of it. So there's if you want to know the full story of The Walking Dead, I know there's plenty of videos out there that explain it. I'm just going off of memory. So I think you don't bring into this guy, and he goes, there's a farm outside. I think it's like his father or grandfather, or I think it's a relative or something. So you end up going to this farm, and you meet these other characters. The one I remember is Kenny. He has a wife and a son. I think I should say Clementine's probably like, I think 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. And so is the Kenny's son. I think his name's, I don't know his real name, but I think they give him the nickname Duck. But so you're there, and of course after every, you can't be safe. So this farm ends up getting taken over, and I think there's the first event pops up where you choose to save either I think Duck or this other person who I believe ends up dying regardless of which decision you pick. That's the other thing. A lot of people will kind of praise it for its every story is different, but then towards you get to the end, basically it's like a egg-shaped thing. I don't know the exact I don't know the exact word, but you can go so far out, but then it all just comes right back to the end. And I know a lot of people are kind of saying, well, even though if you save this character later on in the game, they really don't do anything. So I guess that that's a fair critique. It never bothered me, but so you end up, you either choose to save Duck or the guy, and I think I chose Duck because I think I knew from, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think I knew that regardless of the other character, even if you go to save him, he still ends up getting bit and dies anyways. And then I think Duck ends up getting saved by Kenny. Then Kenny hates you that you didn't save his kid. Kenny's a very interesting character, and I'm definitely gonna have to look up a playthrough for season 2, because season 2 Kenny kind of goes off the deep end, and we'll get to why he gets kind of what starting his descent into madness starts in season 1. Excuse me. So I think you end up going somehow. I think you end up going back into town, or you go to like another town. No, you go to a motel, and then you're there, and I think there's this. I don't think he's racist, but I think he was set up to be the a racist without saying anything racist. But you have the father, and then his daughter. His daughter's like in her probably late 30s. Early 40s, and so I think the father is probably in the 60s or something like that. So he goes to this motel, and that motel ends up getting, I think, like there's a militia or something, and so they end up, you end up starting a fight with them, and then I think there's a character, I don't remember his name, and I know he's in the actual series, The Walking Dead. I know he's Asian, so whatever. I should have did research, but I want to see how well I can wing it off of memory. So he ends up leaving, but I think he ends up going to he goes to the actual series, but he ends up dying in that series. So I think you guys end up leaving, and then you go to Lee's father's pharmacy. You find out that his father is a pharmacist, and I think his mom helped on the side or something like that. And you quickly find out that his parents and his brother didn't make it. And I think this is where the father to the lady kind of ends up snapping, and I don't know if he turns. I don't remember if he turns into a zombie or if he has a heart attack, but it's one of the two, and he gets his head smashed in by a giant TV that I believe Kenny is the one that smashes his head in. So you end up finding a van, an RV, and you end up driving down the road. Now we're going back out of town, and the daughter of the father, she kind of like snaps, and you get to make a decision. And this is a decision that either one you pick, she ends up leaving. She either ends up leaving, or you end up leaving her. So you leave her on the side, and then you never see her again. So fast forward, I think now we found a train, and the train works, and I think now this is the plot where they're gonna go find Clementine's parents. Now we're starting to go back into Atlanta, and I think there's also like a base. That either might have been season 2 or in season 1, but I'm not 100% sure. But you're on a train, and I remember this. So Duck, Kenny's son, had ended up getting bitten. I don't remember if he was bitten at the farm or at the pharmacy, but Kenny's kind of known about it, and he's kind of hid it. And so they stop the train. They get Duck off, and you get to make a decision. Does Lee shoot the kid, or does Kenny shoot the kid? Now I chose Kenny, not because I didn't want to, because in my head, and I didn't think about it after this. The biggest problem I had with the Telltale games is that they give you an option, but they don't tell you like what the ramifications of the options are. Because I know that there was lines that you could pick, and when I read the lines, they were calm. They were I read them as being positive, but when you pick it in the options, like, well, how dare you, or something. I don't know. It's something where it comes out more negative. So when I picked the option to have Kenny kill, I in my head I'm like, Kenny will get to know that he won't have to see his son turn into a zombie. That's in my head. That's how it was taken. But I think because I think this is one of the rare. So at the end of every, I think it's every episode, they tell you what all other players have picked, what percentage wise, and so I was in the minority of me having Kenny pick. So that was kind of like the first time I was like, oh, okay. And I guess, looking back, it's like, okay, it makes more sense if I do it. But, so, Kenny ends up killing this kid. And this is kind of where, I don't quite remember, but shortly after, either shortly before or shortly after, Kenny's wife gets killed. So this is kind of where he's like starting to lose it. He's starting to go he starts going kind of crazy. And he has these waves of like he's like calm, collected, a real good guy, and then he's like batshit insane. Which, to be fair, anybody in this type of situation, I give him a little bit of leeway, especially after seeing what happened in 2020. So there's a scene on the train where Lee walks up to Clementine, and I think this is kind of a big scene that isn't really talked about in the season 2, 3, and 4, but it's definitely shown where Clementine has long hair, and Lee says, if you have long hair, you're more likely it's gonna get grabbed. So he ends up cutting Clementine's hair, and she's not crying, but it's like it's for the better because it's gonna help you in the long run. And so I think that's a scene that I don't think people talk about. Not people, but the game doesn't really talk about much after, but it does hint at it in following seasons. So the walkie-talkie ends up going off, and there's a guy who's in Atlanta saying, "Hey, I know where Clementine's parents are. Come to Atlanta." So you guys end up going to Atlanta, and I think you end up finding a house that has a boat or something, but doesn't have gas. So then you end up walking around in Atlanta. I think Lee gets bit somewhere in there, and then you get the scene, or you get the choice of, do I cut the arm off, or do I hide it? And I chose to get my hand cut off. So that ends up happening. I think somebody else dies. I think I'm missing episode 3 or 4, because I know there's a guy named Ben, and I think he's a college kid, and he's in the scene. I think he's in the motel, and I think he either can die in the motel or you can save him. So if you end up saving him, he becomes kind of like a nothing character. So I think he dies in the Atlanta. I think somehow he falls off, because I think you end up going into these buildings to cross on higher ground instead of being on the ground. And I think he ends up falling off. Not 100% sure. But you end up getting to this guy who has a walkie-talkie. You end up finding him, and he's been stalking you the whole time. He's like, "Hey, I know that you're not really Clementine's family member, so I'll take Clementine from here." And you get to make this you get to make the decision. I think regardless, you end up keeping Clementine. So you end up beating this guy, and I think he tries to kill you, so you end up killing him. And then you're trying to make your way back. I think now we're going back to the house that has the boat, and you end up starting to get dizzy. And there's a big scene, and I'm not. I think they set it up for this, but I'm not 100% sure. I think when you're walking the zombies, so what happens is they pour, or they find some dead zombies, and they just grab the guts and the blood, and they smear themselves, Clementine and because now it's just you and Clementine, Lee and Clementine. So they end up smearing all the blood and stuff over, and so none of the zombies recognize you as a human. and you end up walking, and I think Clementine sees her mom and her dad, who are zombies. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what. Because there's a scene where you just kind of look, and maybe Lee saw it. I'm not 100% sure. Well, Lee starts to get dizzy, so they go down to this garage, and this is like the hardest scene. This is probably the first time I think I bawled my eyes out. So basically, Lee knows he's dying because he knew he got bit, and I assumed if you cut the arm off, it was you were safe, but. He knows he's turned into a zombie. So you get to make this. So you get to make one final decision. Does Clementine kill Lee, or does let Lee? So he handcuffs himself to the like a bar or something like that, so he can't like attack. So I think I gave the decision to Clementine to kill Lee because I didn't want to see Lee become a zombie. And I want Clementine to be strong because I knew that she's going to face challenges in the near future. So she's going to have to be able to make a decision of to kill to survive. So had Clementine kill Lee. I think then it ends. There's two more characters that I didn't bring up, but you meet them. I think you meet them when you're on the train, and they play like a minor role in season 2. But so Clementine's out in the just out in the open, like I don't know where, but there's like no houses, there's no buildings, there's nothing. She's just kind of out in the open field, and she sees 2 bodies, and it ends. So. That was season 1, and like I said, every trophy was just play the game. So I think every episodic episode had 7 trophies. I think 5 of them were, because I think in each episode there's like a part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I think it was only 6 trophies per episode. So I think the 6th one was just beat the whole. The whole thing. So that was my platinum number 2. It's The Walking Dead season 1 was probably one of the best stories in the past 10 years. And if they were smart, that's probably where they ended it, but they decided to continue on and making more. So I think next week I'll have part 2. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Earning, Getting, Winning. So okay, on the name, I just kind of like made one up at the very last second. So I'm probably going to, because even when I write it, I'm like switching the words around. I'm like, oh my god, do I not know what the title's called? But so if I ever say the title wrong, just know that's the reason. But all right, guys, peace.